All right, so what if I told you that creating real wealth, real abundance, has way less to do with what's in your bank account and a whole lot more to do with the very fabric of reality? Today, we're going to dive into this idea of the A to Z of abundance. It's this guide that basically says affluence isn't just something you get, it's an experience you can create. Why? Because at its very core, the universe is practically built for it.
So let's kick things off with a pretty big question. Just look around you for a second. Everything. Your screen, the chair you're sitting on, your own hands, it all seems so solid, right? Tangible, real. But what if all of that is a bit of an illusion? What if modern physics is telling us that the physical world, well, it isn't really all that physical at its core?
And that brings us to this really provocative idea from the source material we're looking at today. Get this, the essential stuff of the universe is non-stuff. I know, sounds pretty out there, but you'd be surprised how much this idea lines up with what we're learning from quantum physics. So let's dig into that a little bit. Okay, so for our first section, we're going to do just that. We're going to peel back the layers of what we call reality and take a look at the very foundation of everything you see. We're starting with this massive idea that our solid world might just be an illusion.
So I want you to think about anything you consider solid. Could be a car, your own body, even a simple dollar bill. We all kind of know, on some level, that if you zoom in far enough, it's made of smaller and smaller stuff, right?
And of course, that stuff is atoms. But here's the kicker. An atom isn't some tiny, solid marble. Not at all. It's actually almost entirely empty space, with just a few even tinier little bits zipping around inside. Those little bits, we call them subatomic particles. And this, right here, is where our whole concept of a solid world just completely dissolves. Because guess what? Even these particles aren't solid things. Quantum physicists tell us they're more like fleeting flickers or impulses of energy. Yeah, just impulses of energy and information dancing around in this huge empty void. So let that sink in for a second. The raw material, the basic building block of every single tangible thing in our world is fundamentally intangible. It's just energy and information.
Okay, so this leads to a really fascinating idea. This non-stuff we're talking about, it's basically thinking stuff. The source material proposes that these very same impulses of energy and information that make up the whole universe are the exact same kind of impulses that make up our thoughts. The only real difference is that our thoughts are structured, right? They're organized by our intentions and by language.
All right, so if reality at its very core is made of these energy impulses, well, the next logical question has to be, how do we actually work with that? And that's what brings us to our second section, a really practical framework that our source calls the A to Z wealth mindset. Now, let's be clear, this isn't some rigid to-do list you have to check off. It's much more like a set of attitudes or points of awareness to cultivate. For instance, A is for all possibilities. Just knowing that at our core, we're a field of infinite potential. I stands for unbending intention, which is all about the power of making a real, firm decision. And Z, of course, is for having a zest for life. But to make this really tangible, let's zoom in on one specific, actionable method from this list.
And that would be the G for gap method. So what's the gap? It's simply that little moment of pure silence you find between your thoughts. You know, that space you can sometimes access through meditation. And the method is surprisingly simple. First, you find that quiet space. Then you introduce a clear intention, a goal. Step 3, and this is crucial, you let go of your attachment to the outcome. You just release it. And finally, you just let the universe handle the details. It's kind of like when you're trying to remember someone's name, right? The harder you force it, the farther away it gets. But the second you relax and let it go, pop, it just comes to you. Same principle.
Okay, so how does this actually work? What's the real mechanism here? What's the bridge that connects your inner world of intention to the outer world of actual results? Well, according to our source, the secret ingredient is the magic of your attention. And this is where we borrow another really cool idea from quantum physics. Before anything is observed, a subatomic thing isn't really a thing at all. It's just a wave of pure possibility spread out all over the place. It's non-material. But then, the very instant we observe it, the moment we put our attention on it, that whole wave of possibility collapses into a single concrete particle, a real physical event happening in a specific place and time. And this brings us to an absolutely critical point. As the source says, a particle is literally created by you and me through the act of observation. Think about that.
Our attention isn't just a passive spotlight. The very act of observing is an act of creation. We are literally shaping reality moment by moment, simply by choosing where we place our focus.
And that brings us to the ultimate goal of all this, which, you'll see, isn't really about manifesting a new car or a bigger bank account. It's about something much deeper. It's about learning to embody the very qualities of the source of all creation itself.
You know, physicists often talk about this unified field, this single source from which everything in the universe emerges, and it has some pretty amazing qualities. We're talking infinite organizing power, boundless creativity, perfect orderliness, deep, infinite silence, even bliss. The big idea here is that if we use this field as our role model and we start placing our attention on these qualities, we actually start to cultivate them within ourselves.
And where does this all lead? To a state that's often called unity consciousness. And you've probably felt glimpses of this before. Maybe you were out in nature and just felt this incredible sense of connection. Or maybe you've completely lost yourself in a piece of music. That's it. It's that moment where the line between you and the world just melts away. The seer and the scenery become one and the same.
So, when you boil it all down, this entire framework really comes down to one incredibly powerful quote. You are where your attention takes you. In fact, you are your attention. It's not just about what you experience, it's about what you literally become. If your attention is scattered and fragmented, well, that's how you'll feel. But if you can place it on wholeness, you become whole.
So I'll leave you with this. The source says you are where your attention takes you. So knowing that your focus is literally creating your reality in this very moment, where are you going to choose to place it now?